and welcome to another week of talks with the wonderful Diane Swaine and myself, Ampika Pickston. As you can see, we have a friend who wants to join us, who wants to talk about her affairs of the heart. No, on a serious note, guys, we're going to talk about emotions. Emotions shape your life. Emotions shape how you feel, how you behave with yourself, your relationship with yourself, and also with others. So this week I wanted to talk about jealousy. Jealousy is something that never eludes or escapes our lives. Jealousy is something that literally can wrap you up in chains and wrap the people around you up in chains also. Living a life without jealousy sets you free. So we're going to talk about what jealousy looks like, how jealousy feels, how you can combat jealousy and live a jealous-free life, because honestly, it's the best thing you could do is free yourself from that negative thought and chain process that drags you down. These dogs are driving me mad. I think we're gonna have to send them in the other room. Yeah, go on, Bella. Yeah, it's not that, just getting too excited.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does jealousy look like? Well, for me, because obviously I have experienced jealousy, it's not a particularly nice emotion to have. I think it's not knowing really who you are and what your capabilities are, and it's meeting someone or a situation and feeling very, very threatened that that person or that something or that energy is going to potentially take something away from you. So my earliest thoughts of jealousy I can think of was when I was a child, probably about 5 or 6. My grandfather, who brought me up, had been married and unfortunately lost his wife at the age of 43. And my grandfather was my world. He was my mother and father rolled into one. So the thought of him loving somebody else potentially more than me or the same as me, because my grandfather was the only person that I had closest to me in the world, the thought of him having strong feelings about somebody else made me feel really, really vulnerable, insecure. And I suppose when I look back at 6 years of age, that's the first time I experienced jealousy. So those types of feelings of feeling insecure, inadequate, feeling that someone could potentially come and take that loved one away from you, or take that care and that thought that my grandfather had for me, could direct it into somebody else, that was really, really debilitating and crushing for me. So I suppose that's the first sense of jealousy that I felt as a child. And growing up, obviously going through your teenage years of meeting guys and maybe finding yourself in a vulnerable or jealous situation over another girl. I'm sure we've all been there. But as you get older, you tend to kind of establish what jealousy looks like and how it feels, and find ways and alternative ways to rid yourself and free yourself of that. I'm not saying that on an everyday basis you're not going to feel twinges of jealousy, because that's perfectly normal and natural, but I would say categorically 100% at the age of 39, I very, very rarely get a twinge of jealousy. I have a really good relationship, a healthy relationship with myself. I can identify what could potentially make me feel jealous, and because I have a very good relationship with myself, jealousy is not an emotion that comes into my head on a regular basis, and I don't live in a jealous way. I am very open-minded. I realise, and I came to realise at a very young age, that I don't own anyone. I don't own any situation. We are all energies, we're all vibrations that live on this planet, and someone can come into your life and you don't necessarily have any guarantees that you're going to be with that person forever, because nothing lasts forever. You know, we come onto this earth plane, and one day we will leave this earth plane. So nothing that we have stays fixed, nothing that we have belongs to us. And the freer I become, and the more I realise acceptance of the people that come in and out of my life, and people that see value in me, if they want to go off and explore being with somebody else, or a sexual experience with somebody else, or connecting with somebody else, then they have a right to do that. I'm not saying it won't be painful for me, but I accept that I don't own anything or anyone. So with having that thought process, I freed myself of putting myself in emotional and mental chains, thinking I own this belongs to me. I own that belongs to me. Because the minute I start taking ownership of a relationship, of a person, of a situation, that will become my downfall. So that was my little experience of jealousy. Diane will talk about her identification, what she sees in a lot of her clients, and ways you can combat jealousy as well. But it's not a nice emotion. It can cause like a rage and an anger inside you. I'm sure all of you have experienced it. And you're putting yourself through emotional pain. Who wants to live the life through emotional pain? I certainly don't. And for people around you, when you start behaving in a very jealous, angry way, it's not very pleasant to be around. I've had a lot of boyfriends that have been extremely jealous and tried to put me under constraints of I can't go out, I can't look at another man, I can't talk to another man, I can't even accept a phone call off a personal trainer because it's a guy. I will not live my life like that with anyone. I will not have someone controlling me, and likewise I will not control them. So guys, if you can be free, it's easier said than done, but it boils down to the relationship with yourself. If you have a good relationship with yourself, you look after yourself, you nurture yourself, you check in with yourself, you understand yourself, you have control over your own thought process. So guys, if you can do yourself and rid yourself of any of these negative emotions, please do so, because you will live your life so freely. It's literally like opening up your wings and flying, as opposed to trying to open your wings up and you've got all these constraints sat on your shoulders because you're weighted down with negativity, with jealousy, with insecurity, with not feeling valued enough, not valuing yourself enough. So anyway, that's enough of me waffling on, Diane. I just got very passionate about that there. I've got a lot to say on this subject.
We'll come back to you in just a minute then.
Okay.
That was great. I love the passion in that. I think the word jealousy, you know, is so personal to everybody.
Yeah.
And I think what's interesting there is I think lots of people listening might have thought that your first story was going to be like about the boyfriend-girlfriend jealousy, and
no.
It was so interesting to hear it was about your grandfather.
Yeah.
And everything, and then that made me think that, you know, I get a lot of clients in where their young children that you know, or new babies have been born, and the husband gets incredibly jealous of the children.
Yeah.
You know, not in sort of a vicious way, but obviously they spent all the time with their partner.
Yeah.
And then along comes a baby, and it's a huge change of dynamics, isn't it?
Yeah.
And the husband in the situation, the father, can feel really, really pushed out. And I think that, you know, the encouragement there is obviously as difficult as it is with new babies, but it's just to try and sort of combat that by being as together as a unit as possible, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which can be difficult, but, you know, yeah. I think that the thing about jealousy is that it's completely personal to everybody, and it depends on your backdrop story, it depends on your journey in life, because behind jealousy is usually always insecurity, isn't it? Of how you feel about yourself, you know. It might be that you feel not good enough, not worthy. If we're talking about, you know, we're with a partner and they make us feel extremely jealous if they are looking at somebody else or connecting with somebody else, or they've got relationships, you know, of different sex, that can make us feel really insecure. And I think that the way to handle that, or the first approach to handle that, is to dig really deep and find out what it is that's actually making you feel jealous, because it will be, as Ampika said before, that'll be about the relationship you've got yourself with yourself, why you feel inferior to perhaps the other person, that the point of the jealousy is about, and also I guess the bond you've got with your partner. You know, what difficulties are you having there that causes you to feel insecure, and then obviously that sort of promotes the jealousy that you feel, but underneath that is usually always the insecurity, you know. So that is about working on yourself to increase your self-confidence, your self-esteem, building your emotional integrity and security so that you feel solid within yourself. And then, you know, as Ampika was saying, if somebody else does come along, or a situation comes along that makes you feel jealous, it's kind of, we don't have control or ownership over anybody else, do we?
Don't.
It's, you know, everybody has their own freedom, their own choices in life.
100%.
And, you know, like that old saying, you know, if you let somebody go and they come back, they're yours, and if they don't come back, they were never yours in the first place. You know.
I think it's down to your belief, isn't it? Everyone has a belief system of how they live their life, and if you don't end up getting what you believe, that's when it leads to disappointment. So it's not like I am lowering my expectations in life, but I would say I don't really conform to what the rest of society think. The way I live my life, I try to live it as stress-free as possible and try to be as less painful to myself as possible, because I don't wrap myself in constraints. You are mine. It's possession again, it's ownership. You will do this. You must do that. No one has to do anything. You do something because you want to do it. And I think it's down to being self-assured of who you are and what you're about. Also, we'll talk about tips of, for example, I can't speak on behalf of anyone else, I'll talk about myself, of how I make myself feel self-assured. And the first thing it starts with is eating good food. We're not talking about necessarily the quantity of food, it's what you're actually putting in your body, and having a healthy, balanced diet, which makes me feel good about myself. Doing exercise regularly makes me feel good about myself. I'm doing things to enhance my life, making sure that I get really good sleep, checking in with myself, establishing how I'm feeling today. For example, today I woke up quite stressed, quite agitated. It's not something that I wake up feeling like this every day, but now and again there'll be a couple of days in the month where I feel stressed, I feel agitated. I slept really well last night, I ate really good food. It might be hormonal imbalance, it might be just negative thoughts that have come into my head, but I know who I am, I've identified that, so I know that I will treat myself with caution today, and I won't overload myself with anything else. I'll literally deal with what I have to do with work-wise today, and I'll check in with myself, and I'll continue to eat healthy, and I will train tonight and try and have a good night's sleep, switch off and do meditation. I know how to look after myself. So these are the key elements. It's looking after yourself, understanding yourself. That gives you self-value and self-worth. If I decided to, the old Ampika is go and get 2 bottles of wine, a packet of cigarettes, a Domino's pizza, stay up till 3 o'clock in the morning. That is not looking after myself. That is living in pain. That's abusing myself. And do you know what? I'll wake up tomorrow feeling worse. So it's understanding yourself, standing there solid in the ground when that storm comes along, that emotionally you know how to look after yourself. That really, really does help you. It keeps you grounded. It's like literally whatever life throws at you, you're going to have a wobble, but on a day-to-day basis, I'm checking in, I'm doing the right things to look after myself. It's key, it's important, so important. And that way, it sounds like a narcissist, but in that funny kind of way, you're looking after yourself, so you're not bothered about looking at other people or what other people have got or what somebody else is doing. It's really powerful because I'm on my own journey. If I'm strong, I can be strong for my son. I can be strong for my staff. I can be strong for everybody else in my household. I can be strong for my partner, who I have a wonderful relationship with. So, you know, I can spin all those plates because I am centered and grounded myself. If I am not looking after myself, everything else falls apart.
Yeah, that sounds to me as well, Ampika, that you're being really present with that as well. You kind of, you're enjoying what you've got here in the moment. You're focusing on those things. Like you say, you're focusing on yourself, your relationship, your son and all of those things, rather than kind of looking too far ahead, catastrophizing about what may or may not happen. And I think that jealousy comes, you know, a lot in insecure relationships, doesn't it? And I think where people think the worst might happen. And I think one of the helpful things is live in the moment, just enjoy what you've got, because we don't have any guarantees. Whoever we're with, you know, God forbid they might die, they might leave us or whatever. But I think it's focusing on what you've got in the here and now, being mindful, being present of that. And then I think it's starting with, like you say, about looking after yourself, those little victories, you know, you know, the small things to start with, the sleep, the eating, the exercise, to help you focus on re-engaging and reconnecting with who you are. You know, get a piece of paper and write down all your qualities, write down all your passions, write down the things that you want to get involved with and the things that are stopping you, and then take action on that. And don't just do things to fill your time, do things that are important to you, that fill your soul, that you feel passionate about, because it's in taking that action and doing things that we feel better about something, and we feel stronger and better about ourselves.
I mean, some people do say that with jealousy, they like a bit of jealousy because it keeps the passion, it keeps the intensity, it keeps the aliveness of a relationship. And I get that to a certain degree, but when it starts to get destructive, where you're having sleepless nights, you're getting very angry, there's explosive arguments, it can turn to physical violence. Sooner or later, that type of destructive relationship will own it, ever burn down. There is no solid foundation. A little bit of jealousy, okay, but it's where you gauge where that fine line is. And I think I'm a big believer in communication. I will always say to my partner, that made me feel vulnerable, or that made me feel insecure, or please don't do that, because it just wasn't a nice feeling for me. So he knows as well how I'm feeling. I think it's really important, and likewise he will say the same to me, like, Ampika, that you doing that made me feel vulnerable or insecure. So I take that on board. If you don't communicate with one another, you can't change your behavioural pattern. So I know jealousy is a root of a lot of destructive relationships and abusive relationships. I've had a lot of people that message me directly, Ampika, I've got a new guy now and it's fantastic, but I'm just like, because my ex cheated on me, I'm just beating him all the time with the same stick. And they are wrapping themselves up in those emotional chains of jealousy, and they are making the new person in their life pay for the damage that somebody else has done. And that is really sad as well. So I just want to give you my top 5 tips on how to, it's not easy, it's like going to the gym, it's training your mind, training your thought process, and it is hard and it's painful and it's awkward, and we've almost got a homing button on at the center of our foreheads that if you're used to feeling jealous and rage, you will go back to that homing page. It's trying to stop that habitual pattern happening. So for me, it's sitting in the moment. It's knowing that how I live my life, I make the best of myself, because when you make the best of yourself, you're proud of yourself, whether that's doing your hair, whether that's doing your makeup, whether that's putting something nice on, whether that's cooking yourself healthy, nutritional food, whether that's exercising, going for a power walk, meditating, whatever you do, you have to live your life by doing things that make you feel good about yourself. Because if you don't make yourself feel good, nobody else will, or you'll be dependent on somebody else trying to make you feel good. And do you know what? It's empty, it's vacuous. You are the only person that can make yourself feel good. The second point I'd like to make is ownership. Once you realize that you don't own anybody, nothing belongs to you, you become free. You are setting yourself free of those constraints of that's mine, that belongs to me, because the minute that person doesn't do something that you're happy with, you're explosive, you're tearful, you're on the floor. That's no good. Live a lighter life. What's my other ones? It's living in emotional pain. Jealousy is one of those feelings where you are living in emotional pain, you're causing conflict towards others. Just freeing yourself of that is the greatest gift. You will just live your life so much. Well, you've got other things to put your energy into. If half of your time is spent by looking through someone's phone, going through the internet, sleepless nights, hot sweats, all the rest of it, all the energy you could be putting into yourself or your loved ones in a positive way. Looking after yourself, which I've already said, I suppose, reiterating it to the best of your ability. You end up becoming proud of yourself, of who you are. And once you become proud of yourself, like Diane said, you've got a sense of achievement. And that's something that no one can take away from you. You being proud of yourself, your small victories of what you've done, what you've created. That's a wonderful feeling, to just look at yourself and say, do you know what? I'm really proud of my behaviour today. I'm really proud that I didn't go into a jealous rage. I'm proud that I didn't go into an emotional wreck. I'm proud that I kind of like gathered my thoughts and looked after me today. So tiny little steps leads to a victory. And last but not least, if I change the way I look at something, the way that that thing looks back at me, it changes the whole situation. So instead of me looking at something, feeling jealousy, feeling resentment, feeling vulnerable, all those emotions, if I look at a situation and think, do you know what? Let it be. I have no control over somebody else's actions, somebody else's thought process. All I can control is me. That situation is diffused and it no longer becomes a situation because I chose to look at that situation differently.
Thank you, that's all brilliant. I was like, my head was whirling thinking, yeah, that's great. And then I was thinking about there's so many different aspects of this obviously to talk about. And as Ampika said, it's kind of the top tips, if you like. But I think just a couple of things to finish off with is one, like Ampika says, is, you know, get yourself a pad out or a journal and start writing down the ways you can build your own self-esteem and self-worth. And that is writing down all the things you love about yourself, all the qualities or all the people that you know love you genuinely. Write down what they would say about you and then take action on that and start to do much more of the things that will make you feel better. If you're in a jealous relationship, either you're jealous or the partner is jealous of you, you know, dig deep and be honest with yourself and have a look at the reasons behind that. What are the emotions underneath that jealousy? As Ampika said earlier, you know, we have 7 or 8 primary emotions. Jealousy isn't classed as one of those, but it's significant in people's lives. And insecurity and fear and abandonment and loss and all those things sit underneath those. And even though your experiences might be similar, it's completely subjective to how you feel about something. And there's other things of jealousy. You know, people get the friends around them they feel jealous of, or they might go onto Instagram and think, you know, they're prettier than me, or they're this, you know, but if you turn that mirror around, you know, there's lots of other people that will admire you for your energy, your authenticity, your naturalness, you know. So it's about finding that beauty within yourself that other people will find so attractive. You know, that's the essence of who you are. And when you reach that, that's like the holy grail. And as Ampika said before, nothing can touch you then, because you know you're centered, you're balanced, you're present, and whatever else goes on around you, it's okay, because you're being you, you're being authentic, and that is the very best place that you can be.
Okay guys, well I hope you have taken on board some of our tips that we want to share with you to cut away those shackles and start living your best life, because you know what, you deserve it. So these are all the things that I wish my mother would have taught me growing up. It's understand yourself and understanding others around you. Once you've got that magical key to emotional intelligence, you'll start living your life, and a happier life and a happy existence. That is something that money can't buy. So we are going to talk about anger next week. So if you like what we're talking about, please give us a subscribe, click. Also, if you would like us to talk about a certain situation that's personal to you, we won't notify who you are here live on YouTube. You can direct message me, the wonderful Diane Swaine, or leave a comment on our YouTube comments. Catch you next week, guys.
Have a safe and healthy one. Take care.